Well, that's a wrap, not only on the Talons of Weng Chiang, but also on Series 14 and on the entire Holmes Hinchcliff era of Doctor Who. Welcome to the Time Treadmill. I'm Ron, and these are my sweaty thoughts about Doctor Who. Due largely to meddling busybodies like Mary Whitehouse and her outrage over the drowning cliffhanger during The Deadly Assassin, Talons of Weng Chiang marks the end of the Holmes Hinchcliff era of Doctor Who. Philip Hinchcliff stood down as producer of Doctor Who at the end of this series, and in Series 15, Graham Williams takes over. Now, Robert Holmes sticks around as script editor for 3 more stories, and he will go on to write several more stories over the course of classic Doctor Who. In fact, Robert Holmes is far and away the most prolific writer of classic Doctor Who. But for all intents and purposes, the gothic horror phase of Doctor Who is over. Although, in all fairness, the next story is one of the great gothic horror stories of the entire show's history, so take that with a grain of salt. But the tide has changed, to be sure. Now, I love the Talons of Weng Chiang for multiple reasons, and one of them is because it is a great historical story, and there are so few of them at this point. During Tom Baker's entire 7-year tenure as the Doctor, there were only 4 historically set stories, and one of them, The Pyramids of Mars, barely even counts. It's setting in the 1920s or 30s, really has virtually no bearing on the story itself, as opposed to, say, The Mask of Mandragora, that revels in its pre-Renaissance setting, or this one, Talons of Weng Chiang, which is all about Victorian London, that the setting is as much a character of the show as any of the actors. And of course, the next story, The Horror of Fang Rock, set in a historical, isolated lighthouse, is one of the greats in Doctor Who history. But that's it for historical stories with Tom Baker, and that's a real shame. I did want to take a minute to talk about the updated special effects available in this release of the Talons of Weng Chiang, and I have to say, I really enjoyed them. I understand the argument of leaving things as they are, and I'm certainly not a fan of the George Lucasification of stories. But in this one, most of the cases of updated special effects are very subtle. There are things like the flashing green eyes of Chiang when he is hypnotizing women, or the purple mist of the life-draining chamber. The only really big updated special effect is one that corrects one of the most horrific bad effects in the show's history, and that's the giant rat attacking Leela. And again, a part of the show's history is its low budget and its dodgy special effects. I totally get that, and I appreciate it. But in this updated edition, the improved CGI effects of the giant rat is phenomenal, and I don't know if subtle is the right word, because it's plainly CGI and beyond the effects that were available to the creators in 1976. But it also takes a scene that had become inadvertently comedic because of the ridiculousness of the giant rat puppet, and replaces it with an actual fearsome rat attack on Leela at the end of, I think it was the 3rd episode. I would certainly wholeheartedly recommend somebody who's watching this story for the first time to watch it with the improved special effects turned on. I think they are tastefully done. They don't stand out. If you didn't know the history of the show and weren't aware of what the original effects looked like, you probably wouldn't even notice that there were enhanced special effects in this. It's, I think, very well done and well worth the effort. So, as I say, that's a wrap on Series 14. Tomorrow I kick off Series 15 with The Horror of Fang Rock, which is another great story of the era, and I am really looking forward to it. I'll see you tomorrow.